Hi, and welcome to another edition of What on Earth, your fortnightly news capsule that covers the most important events that keep our world spinning. Let's start off with the Brexit saga. Good old Bojo is back again with his habit of scraping through. He can thank his lucky stars that the UK's decision to extend Brexit to the 31st of January was accepted by the EU. Now, a general election will be held on the 12th of December. The new government coming out of the election will need to take the UK forward to one of 5 potential outcomes to Brexit. First, Brexit is delivered with current agreed conditions. Second, renegotiations with the EU, though this seems very unlikely. Third, the holding of another referendum, although this will delay Brexit even further. Fourth, a no-deal Brexit, where the current conditions are not agreed on by Parliament, in which case the UK will still leave the EU on the 31st, though with a possible blow to its economy. And finally, the complete cancellation of Brexit. Abu Bakr Al Baghdadi, the self-proclaimed leader of the Islamic State and the world's most wanted man with a $25 million bounty on his head, died on the 26th of October. He blew himself and his 2 children up during a US Army raid of a compound in Idlib, Syria, where he was staying. Unfortunate, since no one can claim the $25 million bounty. President Trump made a Hollywood movie-esque announcement about the whole thing. This didn't really please Turkish President Recep Erdogan one bit. In turn, he announced, quote, "We captured his wife and didn't make a fuss like Trump. Similarly, we also captured his sister and brother-in-law in Syria." The next thing you know, Trump and Erdogan will be trying to capture Baghdadi's mother-in-law, father-in-law, and goldfish to assert their dominance over each other. The protests in Hong Kong entered their 23rd week on a very dark note. HKUST student Alex Chow passed away on the 8th of November at 8:09 a.m. He was in critical condition at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital since the 4th of November when he fell from a car park's 3rd floor as police officers were conducting a dispersal operation on protesters in the area. The exact cause of Chow's death remains unclear. Cameras in the parking lot weren't able to capture his fall, so both protesters and the police in Hong Kong are trading responsibility over Chow's death. Captain Chaos's impeachment inquiry seems to be getting worse by the day. For him, better for the 58% of Americans who hate everything about him. On the 6th of November, the US ambassador to Ukraine, Bill Taylor, revealed that Trump officials were withholding military aid and an Oval Office meeting from Ukraine and demanding, in exchange, incriminating information on the Democrats. The 7th of November saw a State Department official named George Kent testify that Donald Trump's investigation through Ukraine of Joe Biden and his son was a violation of the rule of law. More testaments occurred on the 8th. Most notably, National Security official Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman claimed that there was no doubt Trump himself was trying to get Ukraine to investigate the president's political rivals. The week concluded nicely, as Donald Trump frantically told reporters he thinks the impeachment inquiry is a hoax. The 2019 Rugby World Cup in Japan concluded with a bang as the South African Springboks seized the cup in a tense, gripping final against England. This was South Africa's 3rd time winning the World Cup and the first time that the team was led by a black captain, Siya Kolisi. The tournament was also eventful as it saw Japan being the first Asian rugby team to make the quarterfinals. Speaking of eventful happenings, Conrad's world of work got off to a great start as he spent his first week stuck in an operation theatre at the Prince of Wales Hospital watching dissections while supposedly listening to classical music. Hopefully, his second week will not involve classical music. Now for our main story. On the 7th of November, British Indian journalist Atish Tasir had his overseas Indian citizenship revoked. Tasir, who was born in the UK but raised in India, had his citizenship stripped from him due to his highly critical Time article on Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Tasir claims that he never had any problems with citizenship until he published the article. This repealing of Tasir's citizenship means that he's blacklisted from India. He isn't allowed to visit the country anymore. This happened in an already busy news week in India that also saw WhatsApp announcing that they'd found around 120 accounts in India that were being snooped on. These accounts included journalists, activists, and opposition politicians. WhatsApp hasn't directly spoken about who's responsible for the snooping, but the finger pointing is starting. The Israeli company that makes the snooping software, called Pegasus, has stated that it works with other governments. The Indian government, on its part, has gone after WhatsApp, asking them to explain the whole scenario. Now, are these happenings connected? They are. And when I pass it through the Oliver Hassan authoritarian framework, something that I just made up, it seems clear that India is in the grip of an authoritarian force. So here's the framework. Oliver and Hassan, two prominent researchers in the area of comedic politics, kind of came up with this framework independently without any knowledge of each other's existence. The Oliver Hassan framework for authoritarian assessment is now the gold standard. And here are the 4 traits. First, authoritarians like to project strength and power, both to their own citizens and to other countries. Second, they create and demonize enemies. Third, they erode the legitimacy of well-respected institutions. And finally, they restrict free speech and open, honest news reporting. India, over the last few years under the Modi regime, has pretty much seen it all happen. But the events from last week point to a further chilling of free speech and news reporting. India's ranking in the 2019 Press Freedom Index has deteriorated to an abysmal 140. This means that India single-handedly contributes to 20% of the world's population deprived of free media. Now, in Tasir's case, the reason that the Indian government has given for the revocation of his citizenship is the fact that he didn't disclose his father's nationality in the application. Tasir's parents are the Pakistani politician Salman Tasir, who was the governor of Pakistan's Punjab province till 2011 when he was assassinated for opposing the country's blasphemy laws, and well-known Indian journalist Tavleen Singh. It has not helped Tasir that he was estranged from his father till he was 21 and spent the most part of his life living with his mother and grandmother in India. But Tasir's case points to something larger. As Tasir says, within India, the Modi government has completely altered the media climate. Everyone critical has been muffled or silenced. And now my case shows that even those who think they're protected because they write abroad or for a foreign publisher are not going to be safe either. The Indian Foreign Minister, S. J. Shankar, criticized the English-speaking, Western, liberal media as being ideologically driven and having preset views on decisions being taken by the Modi administration. The fact that India's foreign minister chose to take a leaf out of his prior experience, he was India's ambassador to China, in chastising Western press is the validation of what Tasir is saying. The conflict of power between media and political parties is not new and is present in every country, but the shift that we are witnessing today is mostly the effect of a rising authoritarian regime led by PM Modi. The warning signs are out, and we are likely to see a more belligerent India take on press freedom worldwide. That's all for today's edition of What on Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you saw, make sure you subscribe and smash that like button. I'll see you all on the next edition of What on Earth.